Half the time in which I attempt to convey in a few words the nature of the electric universe paradigm, I'll slip and have to start over because it's so broad and sweeping in its implication. In fact, I cannot identify a paradigm-shifting set of ideas more profound, more fundamental, more sweeping in their implications than the electric universe paradigm. If you just compare the implications of Darwinian insights to the insights within the electric universe, it's actually no contest, because there's so much more that is being affected by the electric universe that is emerging into human consciousness now, and supported by so many different levels of investigation, from space age exploration down to quantum worlds and everything in between, plus human history and the experiences that propelled humanity into civilization itself just several thousand years ago. That comes at various levels also. My favorite is it's electric, stupid, no matter what you're talking about, because the electric force is not limited to a particular scale. We see profound examples of electrical activity up at the macrocosmic level. That means even a larger scale than the galactic space that is being filled with electrical activity as we observe it now. We didn't realize this, but it was predicted by the pioneers of the electric universe that we would find intensely energetic electrical activity at the hearts of galaxies. But the galaxies are not actually the largest scale of electrical activity, and we know that by seeing how galaxies in large clusters are aligned in particular directions. That could not happen by random evolution of a solar system from, of a cosmic system from gravity. And all we have to work with as alternatives, theoretically, are electricity, or the electric force, and Newtonian gravity. So the electric force wins. That's our bottom line. My contribution to the electric universe community is pretty well defined. It's not grand, except in a more narrowly defined sense relating to human experience. So its grandeur comes from human imagination and human experience on planet Earth. I've been involved with these ideas one step at a time. I was so deeply interested in Velikovsky's ideas. He had an idea that wasn't in the public domain yet, and it had to do with going back to the beginnings of human history. The role of the planet Saturn in provoking humanity with both terror and awe-inspiring human experience due to Saturn being very close to the Earth being essentially a satellite of Saturn. Well, that was so far off the map. Once I had gotten into the Velikovsky domain of that research, I was so attracted to what I was finding that would take my attention back to the very beginnings of civilization and asking the question again and again and again. What was acting on human imagination? What propelled humanity into the sacred, ritual, religious expressions that are so characteristic of the earliest civilizations, monumental cultures, monumental construction, imitating the activities of the gods? This became so clear, so fast to me, just because of the I was given a focus by Velikovsky. Imagine the difference between that and just thinking about, maybe I'll go into a study of human history or something. This was like, what was acting on human imagination at the time we observed this explosive eruption of monumental cultures? And I just found myself on a path that was so productive just because Velikovsky had set the direction for me. And everything we might want to talk about, you could take as the outgrowth of that original inspiration. And in the end, I found areas of research that were very novel, had no history, either within the Velikovskyan studies or in any other academic or scientific studies, coming out of a serious intent to identify the role of the planet Saturn in the birth of the great civilizations. For me, that's one of the most touching stories because I didn't even know who Wall was when I first met him. Some time back, I would have said, yeah, I met Wall Thornhill in 1996, 97, ahead of a conference we were sponsoring in Portland. And I invited him to that conference. He wanted to show me that what I had reconstructed and is illustrated in the movie Remembering the End of the World is electrical. I'd never even thought of such a thing. So gradually, this is an extended story, but the end of the story is that Wall completely convinced me that we were like this. We were telling the same story, but one was the history of a human experience, and the other was the electrical behavior of the plasma universe that presents that very detail. So it was a wonderful connection. Now, the most remarkable aspect of this experience for me was Wall's in the office and we're talking about this and so on. And he says, well, Dave, do you remember back at that Velikovsky conference in 1974? So we sat together and you were telling me about the Saturn myth. He was right to my right. And and we talked all night, and he was interested in the electric universe and the idea of Saturn as the ancient sun and so on. This was more than 20 years after we had sat together in 1974 at McMaster University in Canada. And I remember walking out into the living room of our apartment office and then turning back, and the light was on Wall, and in just a way, I said, well, hell, that is the guy I sat next to. We talked all night. So it took a while before we fully realized the potential of what had occurred that evening. And by the way, I find Wall to be Wall is the most exceptional person with scientific determination to always get to the truth of the matter. He will not hesitate at all to retreat from a thought the moment he sees, well, that's not quite right. Well, I just found this eagerness to be corrected wherever correction is called for. So that's a mantra I've formulated. I say it at every conference. Eager to be corrected wherever correction is called for, because both Wall and I can vouch for that in spades. And the truth never betrays you. That's the truth of the matter. So why not just say it? I was wrong, by the way. I could name, if I thought about it for a while, 2 or 3 areas in which I was quite fundamentally wrong. Then throw in all the other little errors that crept in along the way. Eagerness to be corrected wherever correction is called for is the one and only answer to that phenomenon. And it does work for people, I swear by that.